Hello, Orlando. We are joining you today from the AdventHealth Test Kitchen, and we're excited that you're with us. I'm Sherry Flint, a registered dietitian with the Diabetes Institute, and this is
Elvin Cabrera. I'm the chef from AdventHealth Diabetes Institute on their Center for Nutritional Excellence.
And so today we're excited to be demonstrating for you a recipe that is diabetes friendly. As you may know, November has been designated Diabetes Awareness Month, so we'll be bringing in tips and bits of information to help you in your journey if you do have diabetes, but also a family member, friend with diabetes. It will give you a better understanding, and then also it will help also prevent diabetes. So Chef Edwin, what are you going to prepare for us today?
I'm actually going to prepare one of our recipes from the cookbook, right? Because
and we'll be talking about the
we'll
cookbook.
be talking about
more.
that, yes. But we actually have a new cookbook, and people are really happy that it's out. One of the recipes that I'm doing today is just going to be the quinoa and roasted squash with peppers. So that means that we're just going to incorporate grains, vegetables, herbs, and spices. So what do you think about that combination? That sounds pretty good to me.
Simple.
Yeah, right? So one of the things, can I just go ahead and start?
Yeah.
Awesome. So I have my heat right here. If you look at if you have a chance to look at this cookbook, right? You're just gonna see that I'm roasting the butternut squash, the yellow squash, and the zucchini squash. But today we're just gonna saute it to have more interaction with you guys. And then I'm roasting the butternut squash, and that's in the oven with a little bit of black pepper and some nutmeg just to give some flavor. One of the other things that I just wanted to mention was that we're just gonna use Italian parsley, but you can use fresh oregano, fresh basil, anything that you have that can enhance the flavor and the aftertaste. Anything that goes with lemon would work. So I would say yes, let's do that. So let's just go ahead, and right here we're just gonna start sauteing.
And
right.
one thing I think is important for our audience to understand is all these ingredients are really diabetes friendly.
Right.
So the quinoa is actually a higher protein whole grain, which is very beneficial. So it's just not all carbohydrate. It has a good amount of protein. And all the other ingredients, while there's a little bit of carb, they are lower carbohydrate foods.
Right.
And that's what we encourage individuals with diabetes to do, is eat more of the whole plant foods. And that's what's so wonderful about this recipe today.
Right. So, and that's one of those things that when people ask me, they're like, so what do you have in mind when you make healthy foods? And I'm like, well, I have a big mind. It's right here. She helps me out with everything that we would like to incorporate in. Let's say we're actually talking about a specific thing, and I asked her, Sherry, what are the foods that are going to be more beneficial for, let's say, a diabetic or a cancer patient or a heart patient? And that's when they really guide me through. And I have a pretty good knowledge already of what we do here. So it's very understandable when you have people that can definitely help you. So
I have a quick question, because that makes me think of,
okay.
When you first started developing healthier recipes, and if this was like 5 or 6 years ago, this recipe would look very different. What would you have added to the recipe back when that you realize now you don't need to have in here?
First of all, I would not have used quinoa.
Yeah.
Let's just start with that,
Exactly.
right? Let's just start with that, because those are grains that we commonly don't use.
Right.
But they're actually the whole grains that, as I learned, they're the ones that are going to be more beneficial. They're the ones that are going to have the fiber and the B vitamins and all the nutrients that we're just going to be missing. It doesn't from, like, as I learned, the white pasta, just regular pasta.
Right.
So things like that.
What about the fat? Because I know you're using a little bit of oil, but let's say 10 years ago, would you have added extra fat to this?
You know what? I would probably, at this point,
Yeah.
that would have been when I would add more fat. Thinking.
Like butter.
Exactly,
Yeah, okay,
butter or
right.
any oil that you think that is just going to make this better. Sometimes we really have to think of that. And knowing that a tablespoon of oil has like 100 and something calories.
A tablespoon.
A tablespoon.
Yes,
Yeah, like a tablespoon, sorry. So that means that going with that, we just want to go with the healthier oils. Like, so I have olive oil right here, right? But then what happened is that we see that it disappeared, like we're not going to consume it anymore, like it's gone, and we keep adding. And that's when we keep adding more fat.
And more fat.
And more fat and more calories.
Right.
So instead of keeping the energy, the way that I see it, right? The energy that we're just gonna have, then what we do is just we keep adding too many more calories that if we don't use, what would happen?
Exactly. And I think for individuals with type 2 diabetes, it's important to realize that too much fat is not necessarily a good thing. You need some fat to be healthy. But there is research showing that especially the saturated fats and trans fats, you get too much of those and that can make it more difficult with your diabetes. So I think you're showing them an excellent way to prepare a very tasty dish without all that extra fat.
Right. And as they're going to keep seeing, the oil is not going to be shown anymore, right? Because that tablespoon is going to be divided in 10 servings. So that's how we have to see when we've made foods that we're just going to share. Just don't think that everybody has to have like 3 servings. No, 1 serving of it would be okay, and 1 serving would be pretty much this, right? This would be a serving, a side. So that's what we're just going to be using for this. One of the other things that I just wanted to mention, anytime that you're using lemon, just test it, because we use that as kind of
Give
like
it a little bite.
a bite, right? And it's not really a substitute for sodium, for salt, but it cleanses the palate. And when you're actually finishing your meal, it's like, oh, your palate is still cleansed, it's still nice. It doesn't feel that, oh, it needs something before you actually enjoy that first bite, right?
Well, I wish you all could smell what I'm smelling right now. This is really, making me a little bit hungry.
Cool. So right now, that's the idea, right?
Yeah.
So what I want to do right now, always have some water when you're sauteing, or either the broth that you use to cook the quinoa in. Because right now what I'm going to do is like, I'm just going to add the spices. So very simple. I just have some paprika just to give some color, a little bit of salt and pepper. Right? And then this is the trick right here. We just saute our vegetables. We just want everything to incorporate. I'm sorry.
Nope, that's okay.
It happens.
Smells good.
It happens,
Good.
right? So when people ask me, and I do a lot of demos, people ask me, so what are the non-starchy vegetables, right?
Right.
So this is kind of like a good season to look at root vegetables, right? And a lot of people, they tell me, well, there's so much prep to do. But if you want to look good and be healthy from the inside out, hey, just
A little bit of prep goes a long way.
it goes a long, long way. So it's always good that you keep that in mind, all right? So right here, you see this is the base. It's looking quite dark because I did the paprika in here. One of the things that I'm going to do, now that everything is cooked, I'm going to actually add my quinoa right here.
And Chef Edwin, one thing that I think is so beautiful about this is a lot of times when you have diabetes, you might have the beginning of heart disease or even renal disease, and sodium is such an issue.
Right.
This can be for anyone. You know, if you also maybe just have heart disease, it's a very low sodium recipe. You have the fiber, the plant foods that are very helpful. If someone has a cancer diagnosis, whole plant foods are the best thing to eat when you have that, and again, it incorporates all of that. So while we're talking about diabetes, this can apply to many different situations.
Right, because when I tell people what I do and where I work at, they're like, at the Diabetes Institute, and then like, oh, you make healthy foods, and I'm like, no, I make food for everybody. So why? Because these foods are beneficial for anyone. It's just a matter of getting used to texture, getting used to other grains, right? Because we're used to the chewiness of the white rice or the,
Exactly.
the heavy pasta. But then it would be just a matter of texture, and you guys would definitely get really used to it after you know how tasteful and flavorful. It's very flavorful. That's what I meant. So let's just add the quinoa, right? The quinoa is just really simple to make. That's why I didn't wait with you guys for the quinoa to make. It's just gonna take 20 minutes, right? And as you can see, the grain is quite loose. I want that grain to be like that, right? Because what happened is that if it actually open and the starch breaks, then you might kind of like have a pasty dish, right? It's just gonna break down different. So as you can see right now, let me just start folding other things in here. Let me lower the heat. Yeah, because right now everything is cooked, right? So all we're gonna do, Sherry, could you do me a big favor? Can you squeeze some lemons and let's just,
I'll be happy to.
yeah, let's just throw them in here because that's just as simple as it is. Do you see what the flavoring ingredients are? Just what we have in here and some acid to really, like awaken our palate and see how everything is going to taste within this
Do you want
dish.
both of these?
Sure.
Okay.
Because right now, let me just get something.
Getting my workout for the day here.
Oh, good. I'm going to do that later on.
Yep.
Not yet. Okay, so now this is my butternut squash, right? So it's roasted, and we're just going to fold this in here. And don't tell me that you won't see any butternut squash during this season because, we're here already. So you see how nice this is? If you're actually having your Thanksgiving meal, try not to cut everything that you get. Leave a couple of vegetables behind because these are going to be the vegetables that you can incorporate at any time, any moment. And then definitely use leftover turkey, and then you can use your other dishes. But then at least you'll have a new dish that people are going to incorporate, and then it's just going to be a lot better just to eat the rest of the leftovers, right?
So another thing I think that people would be interested in learning about, you have all those vegetables and there's peelings and end pieces. What can they do with that rather than just throw it away?
Oh,
they can
right.
make a stock, right?
Exactly, we can make a stock. Just those little pieces, don't throw them, just keep them. Take a little a saucepan and just put them in there and just let it simmer for 45 minutes. Strain it, and you have a nice you have a nice vegetable broth that you can use later on. And the thing is that people go like, oh yes, we like wine, we like this. What happened with wine is like, first of all, it hits with some acid, but then it evaporates. It doesn't really carry out as the vegetable broth would do.
Right.
You know what I mean? That it's just going to enhance everything, and everything is just going to taste a lot better. So, thank you so much
You're
for my
welcome.
my lemon juice.
Another cool thing
Yeah, look
with
at
the
this.
vegetable stock or broth, if you have a pretty large batch, just take an ice cube tray, pour it in,
Awesome.
and you can freeze that. And then as you need stock throughout the year even, you can just pop a couple of those out, like to put in when you're cooking the quinoa or other vegetables and things. So stock is really, you can use all those leftover pieces and it will keep because you can freeze it.
Exactly, and some leftover pieces that are big enough, after, if you don't have like the outer skin of the onions and you don't have really the ends of, let's say, the zucchini, and you have like real pieces, what you can do is like just add enough liquid just to cover them, cook them through, and you can puree,
Right.
and you have a puree soup, right? So, all right, let's just add this is the last thing that we're just gonna add, believe it or not, it's that quick. And this is Italian parsley. But as I said before, depending of where you're at, depending of what is more, what is easier for you to get, that's how you're going to enhance your foods, right? Because what we don't want you to actually do is not to make it. We just want you to make it. If you can find substitute, hey, just make it like that. Because what you're just going to be trying is going to be something new. It's going to be very healthy for you, and that's when you're going to start, playing more in the kitchen with the things that you have in your cabinet that you probably don't know that they're still there. So yeah, just look for those. Just shop in there, because sometimes we miss that, we forget that. So,
and another tip I think that would be helpful for individuals to know. So you have the fresh parsley, but let's say they have an herb and they have the dried version.
Good.
So you wouldn't use exactly the same amount dried as fresh, right?
Exactly. Let's say I use a tablespoon of fresh. I would just do half a teaspoon of dry, but I would actually place it when I was sauteing everything and all the spices. Exactly, because they have to kind of like break down. We have to get that those flavors out. So sure, I think that we're pretty much.
Yeah, it's smelling good.
So let's just place some of the spinach just for presentation. It can be spinach. If you have any sauteed greens, like collards, like kale, any Swiss chard, anything like that, saute, make a bed on the plate, and then just add everything. People will love that. Definitely, they will love that. So let's just make a little plate right here, so we can all see how we will look at the end. And it's very important that I'm actually doing more than a serving here.
Yeah.
It's for you. It's for you guys to see really the ingredients that we have in here. If you have eggplant, anything that you can actually add in here, it would be beautiful, because people will love these winter vegetables too, right?
And this would be easy to convert to like a one dish meal, because you could add some garbanzos or some type of protein to this, tofu, chicken, whatever you prefer, and then it really becomes your entire meal.
Exactly, because right here, I think that if you want to add a little bit more protein, that's up to you.
Right.
But actually, from the serving here, you're just gonna get like from 4 to 5 grams of protein, and sometimes, like, people want more protein. Why is that?
It's all in not cooking it too long.
This is still cooking. Wait.
So tell them how to cook the quinoa so it doesn't break open and get mushy.
Right. I usually do a little